Yo, so you know that countdown makes me anxious, Travarsy.
I know.
It got to 5, and I was like, "Oh no, what's gonna happen?" So, hey, I want to welcome all the people to Gear Dive Jam episode 4. You ready, Travarsy?
Oh yes, I am. I'm excited about this one.
Tell people who we got on here. Who we working with this time?
We got Farrell, Johno Wells, and we are going to dive into the Morphogene.
Morphagene.
I know, right? You probably sampled that and put it in there too.
No doubt. I should. I plan to. So, let's get started. We got people in the chat. We got our guests here, and we got some cool videos lined up. And I have no idea what we're going to say about the Morphogene, but it should be fun. So let's get started.
All right.
Hey.
Hey, guys. Welcome to Gear Dive Jam.
Dive Jam.
Hello, all you viewers out there.
We're gearing, we're diving, we're jamming.
We're diving into the gear, and then we're going to jam.
That's
right.
Right.
That's exactly what we're going to do, Jono. Oh, there it is.
Right. Patch cables in hand.
Yep.
I saw this picture of Travarsy on
the
screen doing exactly this.
Right,
just
come on.
Fistful of cables. I'm ready.
Right. That's how I like to do it.
The thing, this whole thing with the cables. I love it. So,
the red cables, though,
Yeah, you gotta have red cables. But wait, Travarsy, were the cables red in that for you? Or was this the rare time that you did not have
They were red cables. They were all red cables.
Okay, we'll just say that then.
I don't think they were red, man.
I don't think they were red. They were red, black, and
I'm pretty sure they were red. Weren't they?
There's some black ones. I could see them right there.
Yeah.
It was.
And some white ones.
I don't see what you're showing.
Variety.
I only see a Gear Dive Jam. Wait.
Oh, look.
It's a cartoon. I don't think the cables were even there.
Oh, and those. Oh shit! You're right. I got some black. I see what you're going at.
I
got
suspect foul play here. I'm not sure that ever even really happened.
That's right.
There you go.
The Space Racer says she just walks around like that, just gripping cables.
Well,
it's around my neck too.
Kind of like Big Daddy Kane before he was Big Daddy. He was just Kane, then he got the flat top fade and the chain, and became Big Daddy Kane. So it was like precursor to Travarsy with the red cables.
That's right.
I was on my way.
I was talking to somebody who called their neck their cable holder.
I love seeing that. I always love
their
seeing
neck
that.
was to them.
People
They just walk
patching
around
with like cables.
Just like like they had a hanging.
I'm just ready to go. Anytime I'm gonna pull a cable off my neck.
Ready to patch.
Daddy cable.
Big Daddy cable. Yep.
Big Daddy cable. Oh my god. That's pretty good.
That caught me, right? That caught me. All right. So
that's pretty good.
Talk about the Morphogene. The Make Noise Morphagene is the subject of the day and the gear that we want to dive into.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel, I have to say, Morphogene is one of those kind of malleable modules that everybody will use differently. And like I've done shows with the Morphogene and didn't care what happened with it. I'll just, let it do whatever it does. Twist. If something surprising comes up, I just let it be. Didn't even worry about it. And it still, for some reason, works because it's all about mangling and stuff. What do you guys think about it? How do you kind of approach it? Walker, let's go you.
Yeah, I think that's pretty close to what I do. I mean, I was, maybe some people in the chat know I work for Make Noise, so that's my disclaimer on it. So I'm biased about how much I like it a little bit. And I
works at Make Noise
in the development of the Morphogene a lot. So I was using it a lot when it didn't work yet, and so I've gotten to where when it comes to what it does do and when it does give me the unexpected things. That it still does after years with it. I'm like you, Corey. I'm always rolling with those punches and seeing where it takes me.
Totally. Yeah, totally.
Very cool.
What about you, Jono?
100%. Yeah, I've done like improv experimental sets where it was like basically only Morphogene.
Wow, that's dope.
It was like Morphogene plus like some sort of reverb, and I would load it up with like a bunch of reels and just kind of like maybe check them out beforehand, like, oh yeah, this is that one. Okay, cool. And then just dump them in and just kind of stumble in the dark.
I like
You can just
check
find
them
these
out.
little sonic little playgrounds and just kind of stay there for a minute. Ooh, sweet. Didn't see that one coming. And
Mhm.
all right, let's move away from that one now. Let's load another reel. Oh yeah, that one. Okay, cheers.
Yeah.
Beautiful thing.
Nice.
You guys, Make Noise has such a great repository on that freesound.org site.
Yeah, we've been working on building that up for a while now.
Great. I mean,
Yeah.
I've downloaded every single one of them because that's how I roll. I'm gonna take every one of them. No, but I've probably played with for sure half of them. And my friend Mudlogger he's got ones up there
yeah.
that are just too good. They're too good.
Yeah, we had for a while I was sending emails out to artists who I wanted to make reels for that. We got Scanner, Heinbach,
Barton has one up there.
Todd Barton did some. He actually pulled from the master tapes for the Ursula Le Guin collab that he did, and pulled some stuff that's not even audible on the record. And that's in his Morphogene reel, so that was super exciting to me.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is very cool.
That's dope.
There's definitely some great stuff. And a lot of other people have put their reels up there too on Freesound. So if you search Morphogene, there's tons and tons to hear on there and to play with.
What's the link again? Corey, can we maybe drop it in there?
Sure. This is it's like a Creative Commons free site called freesound.org.
Yeah, I think if you go freesound.org/tags/Morphogene, you ought to get just nothing but Morphogene reels.
Mm-hmm. And they're already like pre-formatted, 32-bit, 48 hertz, got splices in them. They're like ready to roll.
Nice. I need to check it out. I've had a little experience with Morphogene, and I love the sound of it. It was all purely happy accidents. And now Space Racer, she uses it and runs her guitar through it.
Mm-hmm.
So
cool.
I can't wait to hear learn more from all of you guys about it.
I love running stuff into it too. I mean, I would say about half of the time I'm using it to record into, and the other half I'm preparing stuff for it.
Gotcha.
Maybe half and half. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's probably 2 to 1 for me, but I definitely use it to process.
On the recording side or the processing side?
I use mostly reels that I've already created beforehand because I've got so many of them now. I basically I just make reels out of everything that I do, whether I'm noodling around on a synth or walking through the woods or anything that I've got that I'm recording. Like I will eventually find my favorite little sections of and make reels out of it.
Or eating a peanut butter sandwich.
Eating a sandwich, making a sandwich. Yeah, I mean that's what I did anyway. And at some point during being in quarantine for months, I'm like, well, I'm going to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on camera and see if anybody will watch it.
And he still has his job at the end of the day. So.
It went over okay. I remember though that when I submitted that video, I'm like, here's the video I made. I uploaded it and I was like, oh my God, what have I done? I hope Tony's not like, what the hell is the matter with you?
It was a great video. I thought it was great.
Cool. Well, I think you're not the only one. Luckily, other people seem to be into it. So I was glad that I did it. Yeah. My kids liked it too. They thought it was very hilarious.
Cool.
That's dope. I'm gonna need to see this video now.
Yeah.
I'm serious. But you know what I'd like to do is for people, I think obviously, I mean, you figure if you're into Eurorack, you probably know what the Morphogene is. But for those that may not know, and it may be just kind of maybe modular curious and hear about the great Morphogene, Walker, tell us a little bit about what's the elevator pitch for the Morphogene?
Sure. The Morphogene, and let me pull this system over here.
Oh, nice.
I wish I had one that wasn't in a rack so that it'd be easier to hold here. But this is the Morphogene here. Hopefully that's visible. And it is it is a module that is inspired by tape music and microsound techniques. So it's a module that has stereo inputs and stereo outputs, and you can record sound into it, and then you have control over its speed and direction, as well as you can slice it up into smaller pieces, scan through different pieces of one sound or different sounds, and do a lot of granulation, reversing, overdubbing, resampling, and all that, just all under voltage control. And it has an SD card as well, so that you can save your work or take stuff from Freesound or where have you, and patch it in there really easily and quickly. So it's just a sound manipulator, voltage controlled sound manipulator of basically all trades.
Dope.
Yeah. Well, I love hearing what everyone, all the different things that people are doing with it on their, their videos on their Instagram, and then watching YouTube videos. Like, I need to know. I need to know what's happening exactly.
Well, that's like I said before, that's the thing about the Morphogene. I was talking to, excuse me, I was talking to Upright, and he has the Morphogene in his rack, but he hasn't used it much just yet. And I don't think that's all too uncommon with modular folks. We tend to get modules. Maybe some of us are excellent with using every module every time, but it's not typically that way. Right? So I was telling him, I was like, man, you cannot not dig into the
Don't sleep on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you don't know what it does and you don't understand every single knob, just throw something in there, sample something into it, record something into it, and just turn knobs and see what happens. Yeah. You'll be inspired. It's almost inevitable.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of those closed eyes moments where you fall asleep turning the knobs, letting it work its way through your brain.
Indeed.
Man, that was my gateway drug, because, well, I mean, VCV rack was my gateway drug, but then I went to Analog Haven in LA, and Sky Kitty Spit said, dude, just play with this one, check it out. And I'm like, yeah, I've read about the Morphogene. There's nothing like this in VCV rack, and he had some garbage reel loaded on it. I don't know what it was. And I mean, not knowing anything about modular, just getting my fingers on this module was what got me in. Total love affair started like that day. Just noodling back and forth, finding little grains, sitting on it, playing around on it. That was it.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I have to say, the interesting thing for me is that, and I've talked about this on another show before, that like sampling in Eurorack, or that idea that anything related to that sort of paradigm of sampling in Eurorack, it was tough for me to get my mind around the concept of how it was being approached in Eurorack, as opposed to how I was used to dealing with it on, traditional drum machines and groove boxes. You know what I mean? I mean, the freedom of being able to throw a reel in and manipulate it in a million different ways, and it's not just so linear that or it's not like chop and re-sequence. You know what I mean? It's you think about like a reel of tape that you kind of chop, splice, overlay, and all kinds of manipulations and stuff that you could do. It's like a really elastic way of approaching sampling.
I think elastic is a good word for it. I was going to say fluid, but I think elastic is maybe even a better way. I have the same kind of thing where, like, a lot of your MPCs and other sample based things that maybe a lot of us have been used to using for a long time are very like trigger based. It's all about where the start point is,
And you have more control.
It is.
It's like heavily. It's like very. You're very into. It's very oriented around where the samples start because of that like MIDI note-on paradigm that is going around. And with Morphogene, at least for me, a lot of times I feel like it's much more like they're always moving, like they're clay or something instead of cards that I'm placing into places.
Totally clay, man. Clay is perfect.
You can definitely patch it up to be triggered too, but it's like that's just one little part of what it does.
Right. It's so much bigger than just that. And it actually it stretches, at least for me, it stretched my imagination a bit to think like, oh, that's not it. That's not all. You know what I mean? Like there's so much other things that you could do.
Yeah, yeah.
So how long is each so in the buffer, like how long there's slices, so how long is each segment? How long can it be? Is it like a second or?
That's all up to you as the person who's patching it. You have up to nearly 3 minutes of sample time per reel. You can load one reel at a time, and it's all instantaneously accessed. But you can divide that into up to 300 different splices that you can jump between.
Or none.
So it could be one long,
yeah. It can just be one big splice.
Or you can put the slices where you want. Okay.
And then within each splice, you've got the gene size control that zooms in on it further and lets you zoom around and move around within the splice as well.
Nice.
So there's kind of like several different
approaches,
frames of time that all are interlocked.
But regarding the recording into it versus making stuff and flying it in, I would say that a similar comparison might be that a lot of times I'll work with splices and a lot of times I won't. Whereas like sometimes I'm really interested in like precision, accessing all the parts of a sample, and other times that's just not what it's about. I want to dance the whole party,
I think, and I think, well, at least from my perspective, that's the reason that it's designed the way it is kind of so it's open-ended like that.
Yeah.
Like what a splice is kind of up to you.
Right.
Are the different splices variations on one sound, or are they sections of a longer sound, or are they 100 completely different sounds that you're jumping through?
Right,
and depending on how you've decided to use the splices, that control is going to be different and it's going to act differently based on that decision that you've made.
Totally, yeah. Lots of times, like if I'm going to use it in like a percussive way, I would make a reel with like you're saying, Walker, like 50 cool drum hits. Put splice markers on the front of everyone. Or you could use it similarly, but totally differently, percussively, and have just a bunch of crazy soundscape stuff and dump just random splices in it and use it percussively.
Right.
Interesting.
Obviously, it wouldn't be exact kick, snare kind of intention, but it would still be, accessed and used really percussively.
So it just kind of would choose like random slots kind of thing.
Well, you could send it random voltage, or you can go like step through it, if you patch the end of cycle out or end of sample out into
the shift input. That'll jump it to the next splice. So you can just make it run through them all in a row.
Or you could just, use something like voltage block or mimetic or something else and access certain parts of it.
Okay.
Reach like into the reel and hit certain splices.
Okay.
Or something, like NerdSec has such a wide and specific voltage out that you could go anywhere you want in it.
A thing that I often do with it, actually, that's the organized control that picks the splice. I'll sequence it. I'll put a sequencer output into that and then change the knob to get a bunch of different sequences. Right. So like wherever the knob is where it's starting from, and I get one sequence of splices. Then if I turn the knob all the way back down, I go back to the sequence that I was originally on.
Yeah, it's getting like more of the splices in the front of it. Or if you're in the middle, you're kind of middling it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you can use Reaper. And Jono, you use Cubase.
Well,
Cubase
doesn't export splice markers. The only two softwares that I know of that'll do it is Adobe Audition and Reaper.
Adobe Audition.
Obviously, you could make music in whatever you want, but if you want to put the splice markers in, Cubase doesn't do it.
If you want to do it on your computer screen, there's also a button you can just if you feel like you're good enough, you've got the timing.
You can slide
your finger, then you can just hit the button when you want.
Which is also
you can
fun
remove
too.
it too.
It's to come in.
It's cool to be No, it's okay. I'm just thinking, like, with me, I use the button specifically just because I don't know what I might want. I'm not a good planner in that sense of doing it beforehand. And then I've gotten more used to just recording what I want in there in the rack. And so I'll just splice it. And that bit of imperfection is cool because you can around it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll like make something which I don't think that I want like splices in. It'll be some kind of cool little synthy progression, and I'll fly it in for use of just kind of scrubbing all of it. But then when I've got it in, I'm like, I do want splices in here, so I'll just knock them in like right on the button.
Yeah,
there's one there. Sure, let's do 3 there, really quick ones.
Another thing is,
10 seconds later, you know.
Yeah, if you're doing something, if you have a sound that's got a lot of transients in it, it's very rhythmic. There's a splice gate input too. So I'll do sometimes I'll take the envelope follower output and patch it up to my mass and make kind of a comparator patch out of it that extracts gates for every transient, and then patch that to the splice input, run it through once, and it'll just splice at every transient, and then I'll have a splice for every single drum hit.
What a great
to set up, but a lot of times that's like a quick way to do it. I should probably make a video on that. I think a lot of people have asked how to do that, actually.
What a great technique.
I know. There's a question in the chat, really. I just want to kind of interject. By Distortion Productions, hey, Danny, can you create the slice points in a PC Max audio editor via, what does it say? Metadata-rich audio files or anything spliced in a Morphogene?
That kind of is covered by what Jono was talking about with Reaper and Audition, which have they have a feature that'll let you drop the wave markers in that the Morphogene reads as splice
metadata.
And it's a metadata. I don't know how to just edit the metadata directly. In theory, that could be done, but I couldn't tell you how to do it.
That's a really cool idea to like come in with like a stub file, you know, like a text file that the wave file would read, and then you could tweak.
When the Morphogene was in development, every reel, there was a while where every reel had a text file paired with it that had numbers that indicated the splice points.
It's kind of cool.
Okay.
Then I don't remember exactly why, but we ended up moving away from that and having it embedded in the metadata of the wave instead.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And another question in the chat, just to kind of go through the chat here. Does the Morphogene have auto ramp / fading to prevent clicks and pops?
If you're talking about between splice points or at loop points, it does. There's a short auto ramp to avoid like the non-zero crossing click that you sometimes get from leaving at the wrong spot. That is built into it, yeah.
But then you can edit that on the text file too, right, Walker?
Well, okay. So there's two different things we might be talking about. One would be there is a very, very short crossfade, like short enough to be less than a cycle of a waveform, that is just gonna keep it from having clicks, but that won't change the way it sounds to you on the loop. Then there's also what Jono is referring to is on the options text file on the SD card. You can load that into your computer and edit it, and there's a whole bunch of options that change its behavior. And one of those is a gene smoothing that puts a windowed envelope around each individual gene, including when they're overlapping each other, and it creates it's more smooth for time stretching, and it creates kind of more classical granular synth sounds that modulate more smoothly.
Very cool. Okay. Well, Jono, then let's play your video. Corey, are you ready?
Yeah, check that out.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's see. So here we have Jono. I'm going to turn it up.
All right.
I'm going to mute myself now.
Me too.
So when I thought about what I might do for this patch, you know, Morphogene is like my favorite Eurorack module. So I could obviously go in like 50 different directions, and I've certainly used it 50 different ways. And I think that all of us like to record into Morphogene. I definitely could have gone that route, but I chose to go the route of preparing sounds in Cubase, which is my DAW of choice, and flying those sounds into Morphogene. So sometimes I'll use field recordings and all kinds of different stuff, but tonight I wanted to focus on one of my favorite synths in the Arturia collection, which is their Jupiter. And I'm just like playing basically some chords and notes. I found a patch I liked and adjusted a few things on it, but really I'm just kind of playing the preset with just a few tweaks. So the recording time in the Morphogene is like 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So I'm just basically creating something I'm actually working with a little performance here that's about 1.5 minutes. So I'm just kind of improvising little chords and notes, not really making a whole big deal of it. So after exporting that WAV file out of Cubase, I'm bringing it into Adobe Audition, where I'm doing all my slicing. Or I mean all my splicing. So if you use Morphogene, you know that it works with all these splice markers, which you can add either before in software or afterwards on the module. There's only 2 pieces of software that will put these splice markers in and then export a WAV file with it, and that is Adobe Audition and also Reaper. So now I've got all my slices. It looks like there's like 27 in there. I'm going to export and file name. And then you need to make sure that it's at 48 hertz, 32-bit, and you export all the markers. All that metadata gets embedded into that WAV file. Now I've copied that WAV file onto the card, and it's just indexing the very first splice. One of the favorite things I love about Morphogene is to just play it manually. You can obviously plug it all filled with modulation and have a totally other result, but I really like playing it like an instrument also. So I'm just finding a sweet spot here with morph, so it's just overlapping itself just a little bit in that first splice. And I'm hitting shift there, which is same as rolling the organize knob, going through all of your splices. So I'm just hitting shift and I'm just going through all those splices. So I put all the splice markers in where I shifted chords and hit different notes so that I could just kind of index through the whole sample. So I've got a slow LFO going into slide, and I'm just turning that down a little bit so I can kind of hear kind of how it's going to index. We'll give it a little bit of mimeophone here to kind of fatten it up a little bit. a little bit of shimmer on FX Aid for kind of a final gloss.
Nice, Johno.
Sir, that was
That was
sleepy.
beautiful.
Sorry.
Yeah. And I like how you explained, so that was a good segue to what we were talking about, because now I can go back and watch exactly how to make this.
I gotta say, Jono, I feel really like, woosah after watching that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's a
love
little
it. That was
sleepy,
so
man.
dope.
I heard it back. I was like, damn it.
The reel was dope in itself,
Yeah.
but man, when that shimmer came in, I think that goes to show how you could have something that's already great. That you start combining these other little things and still be able to manipulate Morphogene. That was really good, man. I enjoyed it.
Or it shows that you can have something that's entirely average and make it beautiful with a big reverb shimmer.
This is why we all love the reverb shimmer, because it doesn't matter if it's average or really great, it's going to make it better.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that you found a path through that sound that gave it something new.
That's why I just didn't want to. It's like I wanted to kind of leave it. It's like once I found a grain size that worked, once I found a morph overlap that was reasonable, I'm just like, all I'm doing is just indexing forward through those splices, just kind of just letting it go. Yeah.
Very cool. That was very nice, Jono. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Real simple.
It was good.
Should we keep going, Corey, or what do you want to?
Yeah, let's keep going.
Okay, let's play. Let's get into walkers. Do you want to play walkers, or do you want to play yours? You decide.
Let's play. Oh well, let's walk her on. I'm feeling like, yeah, let's do that. Give me a second here.
Mine has no explanation. I'll have to explain it later.
Cool. Yeah, you can walk
Yeah, I
us
was like, should I do a voiceover? Should I just shut up? I was like, I don't know.
I thought it worked very well.
Yeah, because you were using the
Understand what was
computer.
happening. People are not going to understand what's happening in mine, so I'm giving you the forewarning at first. I'll explain it after, but yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Love those textures and yeah. I don't-
Going all like AMSR on me now. I was starting to feel kind of dirty. Feeling my ears get a little tickled there.
Space Racer was like aliens talking. You're like, yeah.
What were those reels made out of?
So I made a reel. I like I was saying, I record like just all kinds of stuff. So I often just will record random modulations that I'm doing in my synth, and that's what it was. I mean, it was just like some triangle oscillators being modulated in various ways, and I just chopped it into pieces and scanned through it. Now for the patch, though, some may have noticed that I had the patch, the card game.
Yeah.
Cards sitting next to it. And I decided that when I made this patch, I would use the card game to design it. So I pulled an abstraction card, and the one that I got was create an entire patch without listening. So that was a little bit scary. And I thought to myself, maybe I'll patch it and then decide to do something else because it's not going to work out. But I just decided to lean into it. I patched it up, turned up the volume and hit record, and I'll be honest, I'm pretty happy with what I got out of that. So what I did in terms of actually using the Morphogene was I was sequencing it with the zero control. So I had a bit of a sequence going with this thing, and then I was using the top row to choose my splices. And as something that I had mentioned earlier, I would use the organized control to kind of set where the start point was for that sequence, or I'd kind of mess around with these to edit the sequence as it was looping back around. The whole time I was also clocking through and sliding, so it would sequence through the same splices, but they wouldn't necessarily be in the same kind of point. So you sort of had kind of like a looping sequence, but not necessarily really a loop, so to speak, if that makes sense. And then I added some nodes of control, like pressing on a touch plate. I patched that to vary speed, so it would kind of dive bomb the sound in frequency and drop it down to really low pitch whenever I pressed on the plate. And then I ran it through effects and added a supplemental voice with the telharmonic noise, and patched in the microphoning that I have on top too, so I could scrape around on that when I felt like I needed some other element as well. And then I kind of just hit record and did a little free improv with it, and that's what that was.
Yeah, it sounded amazing.
Thank you,
Corey.
I love that you did it without listening. That's so awesome.
That is dope.
Yeah.
It was
I gotta
scary, you know. I was like, the camera movements were all done in post. I decided to move the camera around to try to add some drama just in case there wasn't enough.
Yeah, I was thinking like, wow, audible and visual drama. This is
Right.
That's awesome. Yeah, really cool.
Thank you.
So patch the card game, man. I got that ordered. I can't wait.
I tried to jump on it. And it was sold out already.
So there are pre-orders available if you want to get it. I think James was telling me today he thinks another batch is coming in the next couple of weeks, so people might even be able to get it before Christmas if they ordered it now.
Supposedly ship it on the 23rd. I was talking to him day before yesterday. I was like, dude, you're not going to ship that on the 23rd. He's like, well, I've got them all ready to go. Got the packages. I'm just gonna drop them in. I'm like, okay, dude. Merry Christmas.
We did a live stream on our channel, the Make Noise channel today. We do a weekly, we call it office hours, every Thursday, and I played the game on the live stream. So if anybody wants to see what some of the cards are, you could go to our channel and play through that.
Very cool.
But it's fun. It's dangerous. You don't know what it's gonna wreck your patch in a good fun way. Yeah.
Nice. I just want to check in with everyone too in the chat and just say thank you so much for tuning in. We still have lots more for the night, but I want to pause, say thank you, and also continue to drop your questions in the chat. I believe there was one back there. I will go back. I think Electronic Sounds Audio. I know you had a question earlier. I'll try to find that, and we'll make sure we get that answered. But and don't forget to hit that thumbs up button for us too.
That's right. Thumbs up, subscribe, like, share, comment, ask questions. Because even after this airs, we'll still be answering questions if they appear in the comments.
Cool. All right, Corey. So do you wanna cue yours up, or are we?
Sure. Why not?
All right, let's do it.
Why not?
Let's see.
And I'll look back for that question too.
I just scrolled too. I couldn't find it.
I'll find it by the end.
Everybody mute. Dude,
Nice,
that
Corey.
did not just end. Come on.
That was great, Corey.
Yeah,
Why did that end?
Thank you. That was fun, man.
fantastic. Yeah.
Man. And the winner is
We
Corey
all get
Banks.
a trophy.
Yeah, you all
We're all winners.
were great.
Thank you.
Corey, that was absolutely awesome.
So what are you doing, Corey? Like, all right.
What was that module on the far right, Corey? I didn't recognize that
So-
one.
I was going to ask that, but not as a joke, because I actually don't know what that
The
is.
one with
That
the
is
arcade
the
buttons. I
performer.
don't know that one.
That's my first mod bap modular.
Corey's module.
So the cool thing about that, I put it all together, like to have the surface and the data bender and Morphogene and the performer to create, like, it's kind of like a tape splice and manipulation and madness thing. I mean, those three modules together are over the top. I mean,
the powerhouse, man.
It's a great little
it's
system.
really cool little system. And so I have that. Obviously, most people know that when I compose with Eurorack and Mod Bap, I'm using the Force with it. So what I have with the Force is I'm going, I'm using the CV out, Force S4 CV out. So I'm creating melodies, obviously with the sequence on the Force, going out of CV into Surface. So I played 2 different tracks there. And so the melody continues on because I'm still just using the Surface. But then I'm letting Data Bender start to mangle it and create those extra little melodic kind of twinkles around. And I recorded the reel. Once I kind of had a couple sequences set up, I recorded the reel of the couple different sequences. So I'm going back and forth between sound on sound and the reel. And really manipulating a lot the start and end points and kind of getting some overlapping stuff there too. And then I kind of with the melodic stuff that I actually played on the Force to go out of the CV coming out of the Surface. What I'm also doing is playing the reel at the highest speed that it can be played, and that combined with what Data Bender is doing by creating some extra melodic elements and kind of creating some noise on it. And then on top of that, Morphogene doing sound on sound and kind of playing at double the speed.
That's when you had a lot of those little twinkles.
Yeah, exactly.
Really just like grab a little bit. Yeah.
Marcy has a question.
I do actually, and probably just for me, but also I'm sure other people who are not that familiar with the Morphogene, they're trying to familiarize themselves. When you say double the speed, so that's the knob that's in the middle that says reverse forward. So is it colors depending on which setting and how quickly or slowly? I mean, how slowly it plays in reverse, or how fast it plays if you turn it clockwise? Or
if you set it to noon, oh, sorry, go ahead, Corey.
No, go ahead, go for it.
If you set it to midnight, which is the way we've been saying it around here lately, instead of noon, because I think that sounds cooler. If you set it to midnight, that makes it stop, right? So it's like it slows down as it approaches the top, and then if it goes to the left, it goes backwards, and if it goes to the right, it goes forwards. And the higher up you turn it in the direction, the faster it goes.
Got it. Okay. And then the slicing with the colors, so that shows you it changes color per slice. That little box in the corner on the bottom right. Okay.
There are 8 colors, and if you got more than 8, then they start to repeat. But it gives you an idea of which splice you're on. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
And one thing that I remember about the lights is when it's green, it's the original audio speed, right? Is that right? So when if you're looking at a patch, you can see the light for that center knob. When it's green, it's the actual reel with no, pitch changing. Right?
Got it.
And then the other side, it's reversed. So I kind of went back and forth between that stuff and mostly, sometimes using the slide, and sometimes kind of manipulating the start and end points so that sometimes they overlap. And then you would see me kind of go back. The top knob goes between the actual sound that's coming in from Data Bender, which is the manipulated sound from the Surface. And when you use that sound on sound, you go into the real and the live sound. And then overall, I just left the reverb on the performer the whole
time. I have a question for you about the beats. Are they synced to what else is going on in the system, or did it just mesh with it perfectly automatically?
It's actually what I'm doing is I create a beat on the Force, and then it has CV out. So then I create a melody, CV out going to Surface. So when I play the beat, it's actually playing that melody live on the Surface. And so I'm that through Data Bender, and then also had a reel of it in Morphogene.
Because it sounded like it was. It sounded like it was in the pocket with the beat, but also at the same time flying all around it in every single direction.
Exactly. So what you're here, that's exactly what was kind of so what was in the pocket, what was coming out of the surface because that's playing what the CV is telling it to play. But
Mhm.
then I have sound on sound mostly in the middle, so you're hearing the actual sound from the surface and data bender, but then the reel is kind of flying around because it's being manipulated during that time.
Mm.
Yeah,
Nice.
it works.
Electronic Sounds asks, so you're playing live and in the reel, but the same sound in the reel? Question.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Got you.
Yep. And that,
Super creative, man.
And I did find his question too. Just
wait.
before. He asked, "Is there latency on the splice button?" That was the question by Electronic Sounds.
I mean, if it is, it's like a microsecond or so. It's no, there's not.
Cool. Nice. God, this has been great, guys. Like, I feel like I've learned a lot. So the gear, the dive, the jams, all of it was great.
That was the titular line of the show right there.
Boo.
You don't have one for us, Travarsi? We can't check out your jam?
No, well, no, my Space Racer is it is hers. We'll just say that.
Damn it.
She guards it.
Damn it.
She guards it close with her guitar, but I'm gonna have to play with it too now. But she's been doing some really cool things with it. Like her last set she played, she basically ran her guitar right through it, recorded and then played with the reel, like kept strumming over it. It was I think she played with you, Jono, the same event, right? Wasn't it
it was the Colorado October Skies.
Yeah, the ambient one. The ambient session. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm gonna have to. Maybe she'll trade me something for a little while, and then I can dig into the Morphogene for a little bit now.
And you know the thing that I would say about the Morphogene, when I first got it, I was concerned about knowing what everything did, and because I felt I was obligated to know what everything did because it's a sampler, and in my mind from the MPC and you know the Groovebox kind of thing, you using a sample, you know when the sample flies, you know where from, you know where it starts, where it ends. And so I think in my mind I had to get over that thing and just kind of let Morphogene be free. Experiment. Just let it be what it is, you know.
Right.
And it could be some really, really special things. But I mean, you know, it's so flexible, it's crazy.
With that will come the knowledge too. I mean, it's pretty obvious you know your way around it at this point. And it's I mean, I could tell from hearing you talk about it or from hearing your music there. I mean, it's but yes, it kind of like you want to learn your way there instead of just reading your way there or figuring it out in a scientific way. Yeah.
One thing that really changed when I started using it was that I could picture that, like, here's your reel, let's say. I mean, this is going to sound really simplified if you know the module, but if you don't, like, what cleared it up was that, like, if this is your sample, and then you're like, this is your grain size, and then this is sliding back and forth. So then I could, like, make it bigger and slide that larger piece back and forth, or slide one grain over the whole thing, and just kind of picturing it like that, like, changed everything. And again, that's simplified if you already get the module, but
I usually use a patch cable to describe that to somebody. Well, they always ask me when I'm standing there at a synth, and I'm like, "This is the whole reel."
Yeah.
Now you cut a splice, and it's this long. You've got this splice that you're looping through, and then you can take a smaller piece and move it back. Size. Yeah.
Totally. But it's kind of it's hard to, because you can't see it. Like even you know, like with an R bar, you can see its its distance. On the ER301, you can see the actual waveform. So you do kind of have to get into the mentality of Morphogene, because you can't see it. You know,
I mean, a big part of it is that you can't see it. It's
right.
You're finding it with your ears and your hands. More than with your eyes.
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing.
Surprise too of what's going to happen because you can't see it. Like, that's the interesting thing, and I think also that kind of harkens back to traditional samplers of old right? Like the classic samplers that everybody fawns over nowadays. There's no stream with waveforms on those things.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so you got used to kind of using your ears, and you probably approach things a little differently than if you could see the waveform and see what it is. It's definitely two different sort of paradigms, but there's something special about that.
Totally.
Yeah, I think, and mostly, I mean, since that time, so many methods for using samples have been visual based, whether it's a computer plugin or even something like an MPC that's got, you know, you can zoom in and use your wheel to find like that exact moment where the transient is.
Yeah.
And that's become a part of the way that people expect sample sample playback to be done, is like to have this visual element that's all about the waveform view. And so definitely a different kind of paradigm here.
And Alpha Stare is totally right that it's an exercise in listening, because you find it's like that's the sonic playground thing, is that you're like, whoa, there's a little nugget, a little grain right there, and then you can just noodle it, you know, into it and get lost in that for a minute. And if you were seeing that, you wouldn't work with it like that.
Yeah.
You would look for the transient. You would look for the thing which you thought you wanted.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I agree. It's going to be really, the Morphogene is really good at finding the things you didn't know that you wanted.
Yeah.
But I see I saw a question in the chat from Frey, hi Frey, asking if I use multiple Morphogenes. I've always, like, there's been a few times when I wanted to try that, but I've actually never done it. In my system that I use for this patch, and that I use with my Morphogene at home, or if I'm playing a show, I use a Phonogene with it. And a Phonogene, for anyone who doesn't know, was kind of the precursor to the Morphogene. It was a module that we used to make before we made the Morphogene, and it's got some similar concepts, but it's quite a bit more low fidelity, much shorter record time, more kind of blocky in every way. But I like to use it to sort of live process recordings that are coming out of the Morphogene. I've always wanted to use multiple Morphogenes.
You should talk to the people at Make Noise. Maybe they could give you a deal.
I mean, I could. I've got access to them. I guess it's just never. I've never just actually done it.
This is gonna be a challenge now, Walker. You have to.
I guess now I got to make the impossible system.
You have to do a video on it for sure.
I'm gonna be honest. Like, one thing I hate doing is moving modules around in a case. Like, I'll do anything I can to avoid that. I've been doing that for so many years, and I'm kind of like, every time I have to do it now, I'm just like, okay, here we go.
I usually just throw on a Netflix or something, or a video in the background, and then, you know, do the whole moving around. But I'm glad you brought up the other module that was in your case, because I was going to ask you about that. I saw so you're saying that's more lo-fi, the other module that came up prior to Morphogene?
Yeah, I'm just gonna pull this case over so you can show it to you. I'm gonna hold it on my shoulder like it's a boombox.
Nice.
I've got the Phonogene here, and it was released, I believe, in 2011, and was then in production until I think we came out with the Morphogene in 2017. So it was in there for 5 or 6 years. And the time between 2011 and 2016, what was available for this kind of hardware tech increased in power exponentially. So it went from, you could sample maybe 4 or 5 seconds on Phonogene before it degraded to the point that it was just a glitchy mess. And it was just much less. You couldn't do a lot of the tricks you can do on Morphogene. You couldn't remove individual splices or do resampling, or you certainly couldn't save anything to an SD card. You know, it was, once it was gone, it was gone. And it was just pretty different.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah.
You know, Walker, you made a video on the time lag accumulation technique that is such a great technique. And if somebody hasn't done that on the Morphogene, that's a great use of the module.
Yeah, that's referring to basically just hitting record and letting it loop they're over the same splice over and over again. And then what happens is whatever you're doing, whatever you're hearing on the output gets recorded back into the input. So it's kind of like a delay, except you can also be changing gene size and everything while it's recording. So you'll hear it loop back around, and you hear all that granular information that you did on the last go around, and they get looped up. And if you change the vary speed, then it makes these like cascades of pitch that go up into.
I want to do that later.
No, I'm like,
or even just simply like sending a long gate to the record CV. Just every 20 seconds, let it read a whole new buffer into it. That's just a lovely thing to do.
Beautiful.
Yeah. There's a bunch of different kind of micro methods for like using it for live sound manipulation that can be really fun and get you a lot of cool textures and stuff. I mean, a lot of what Corey, although I don't think Corey was recording over it during his piece, like you heard a lot of that kind of sound in what Corey was doing there, since he was using the same sound that was his source material.
Yeah.
Got you.
DB Pollen asks, can you really do pitch tracking using the clock input so that sample splice doesn't get shorter with a higher pitch? This is with the time lag accumulation.
There is, if you are doing time stretch on it, running a clock into the clock input with a shorter gene size, with the morph turned up to a certain point, it'll go into a mode where, or a way of using the clock input where instead of shifting forward with each clock, it measures the time between the clocks and just causes it to propel through the splice at a speed based on that clock input. And when you do that, you can change the gene size and the vary speed without changing the total length of the time that the splice is. So your splice length and your pitch are decoupled from each other, so to speak. But normally your vary speed is making it go faster, making it go higher pitched and also play faster, so the total length of the splice is shorter, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm gonna definitely watch
that time stretch and decouples it. So I think that's what they were asking.
Nice.
I'm definitely gonna
think so.
Watch this again later and try to understand that a little bit.
Yeah. Sorry if that got super technical. There's a video on that too.
Nice.
Make Noise should hire you, man. Like, you know this shit.
I know, you really know your shit.
Yeah.
You know what's cool about this Gear Dive Jam? One is obviously, I think this show encapsulated what we envisioned it to be, where you had the gear, obviously, and experts to talk about the gear, then the dive, and I think Jono, your video encapsulated that perfectly, like really explaining your process. And have Walker here because he knows the product inside and out, right? And the jams, and so that and everybody came from such different angles with the jam. I think this kind of encapsulates it all, and so I just want to let people know in the audience also that even though you heard those jams here on the show, we released them later broken out as individual jams, so you can go and listen to the playlist and just kind of listen to them in their entirety, just in case the fidelity through StreamYard, which is a platform that we're using, you'll actually get the real fidelity of the jam. Yeah,
I imagine they're going to sound a lot better when you go listen to them natively. And mine is in stereo too, which I don't think was able to come through on StreamYard here.
Right.
Exactly.
And we also included all the patch notes and any descriptions too. So it's nice for people to have that opportunity to go back and just kind of rewatch some of these jams. So very cool.
Yep, indeed. So hey, thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Great show.
Thank you for having us.
And shout out to the usual cast of characters in the chat, man. We know all these people, every single one of them.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Love all these people.
Right. It's like back in the day when people would travel with entourage. We have our entourage of people that is in our community. We're part of the entourage when Johno was on it. You know what I mean?
These are like all our friends here. It's hilarious.
It's great though. I mean, this is the thing, you know, this is why, you know, when Corey and I talked about doing the show is exactly that. Like we find gear that things that we like, so modular hardware, whatever, and just like talk about it and learn and like, you know, teach like this is perfect, you know, all the examples. And then even myself sitting here like needing to hear all of this because I want to learn. This is the dive in for me. So hanging out with the homies, I mean,
Totally.
better than this. But yes, thank you for being here, you guys. And I just want to say thank you to the viewers for tuning in again. Just to give you, just to do a little housekeeping. Next month, we're diving into the Blue Box. We have Electronic Sounds Audio, Dean with us, and Steve from 1010. And yeah, so by then, like, yep, I think they'll be out and Blue Box.
Talk about next Saturday too, Traversy.
Oh yes, and next Saturday we have Frequency Shift. It's our second annual frequency shift, or second frequency shift, excuse me, and it's on our SoCal channel as well as Frank Martin's channel, Peachy Mango, starting on Saturday at 1 on his channel, and then we'll be transferring over to SoCal channel at, what do we say, Jono? 5 o'clock.
5, yeah.
5 on SoCal. So it's just going to be all day of female non-binary artists performing modular hardware. We have some vocalists. We have some visual art happening with some music. It's going to be a great show. So
SoCal and San Francisco, man.
Yep.
That's
Very
what's
excited.
Love it. Love it. So yeah, thanks everybody. We are going to wrap, and be sure to subscribe and follow and check back so that you could see the full videos of these jams. And on that note, we're going to call it a night.